It was a Tuesday night. I was 10. My little sister was 7. We were just kids, you know? Cartoons, homework, cereal for dinner kind of kids. We didn't know the world could twist like that. Not yet. We were in our pajamas. I remember I had on this old Sonic the Hedgehog shirt with a hole in the armpit. My mom was acting weird, floaty, smiling too wide. She called us into the kitchen and said we were gonna have a special treat. Pills. Yeah, freaking pills. She poured a whole pile of them into her hand. Said it was a game. Let's play doctor, she said, all sing-songy. These are magic sleep candies. My sister looked scared, but she trusted Mom more than I did. I only learned from Mom got that glassy look in her eyes. You didn't argue. You just played along and hoped it ended soon. So we took them. I don't know how many. Too many. I remember the taste. Bitter as hell, like chewing aspirin dipped in battery acid. My sister gagged and cried. Mom told her to be quiet, shoved more in her mouth. I still hear her coughing sometimes when I try to sleep. Not long after that, everything got slow, heavy, like the air turned into syrup. My eyes couldn't stay open. My legs gave out. I remember hitting the floor and not feeling it. And then, nothing. Black. But apparently, my heart didn't want to give up that easy. Not that night. I woke up in the hospital 2 days later. I died 9 times. 9 times. Flatlined. Brought back. Over and over. They said my heart kept stopping, like it didn't know if it wanted to stay or go. Machines and wires everywhere. Tubes in my arms, down my throat. It hurt to breathe. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I thought I was dead for real, until I saw my sister. She was in the bed next to me, awake, silent, eyes red and empty. We didn't talk for a long time. Weeks, actually. Just stared at each other, not knowing what the hell had happened. The doctors said it was an accidental overdose. They said our mom was stressed, overwhelmed, that she thought the pills would calm us down. Nobody talked about it like it was a crime. Not back then. But years later, when I was 17, I found the truth by accident. I was helping clean out a box of old court documents from my aunt's attic. Long story, and there it was, the report. Turns out Mom had done it on purpose. Not a breakdown, not a moment of panic. Revenge. She was angry at Dad for leaving her. She wanted to hurt him, and what better way than through us? Her own kids. We weren't people to her that night. We were weapons, symbols, leverage, just something to break. I threw up in that attic. Not metaphorically, I actually puked all over a box of Christmas ornaments. Then I cried so hard I couldn't see. Do you know what it's like to grow up thinking your mom made a mistake, and then find out she meant to kill you? And not just kill you, but watch you fade out like a light bulb dying? That she looked you in the face, fed you poison, and tucked you in like it was bedtime? I haven't spoken to her since. She's out now, of course. Barely served any time. Mental health defense. Said she wasn't herself that night. Temporary psychosis. Yeah, okay. But me? I still flinch when I smell pills. Still sleep with the light on. Still wake up thinking my heart might stop again. And my sister? She doesn't talk much at all. She's a ghost walking around in a girl's body. I used to live in Sedro-Woolley, up in Washington. Real quiet, green as hell, smells like pine and wood. You think bad things don't happen in towns like that, but they do. Sometimes they happen behind picket fences, in houses with Bible verses on the walls and little plastic deer in the yard. That's where the Williams family lived. They had a big white house at the end of the road, with a long gravel driveway and chickens in the back. The parents, Larry and Carrie, looked like the kind of folks you'd see leading a prayer circle. Always dressed neat, always acting polite in public. Real religious, strict, but on the surface seemed like they had it all together. I did landscaping and odd jobs back then, and one summer I helped fix their fence. That's when I first saw Hannah, 13 years old, skin and bones. And I mean that literally. Her collarbones were sharp like coat hangers under her shirt, and her eyes had that wild, panicked look. She didn't speak to me, barely looked at me, just shuffled past, barefoot, carrying a bucket of weeds or something. I remember she flinched when Carrie called her name. And I mean flinched hard, like she was bracing to get hit. That messed with me. A few weeks later, I saw the boy Samuel, 11. Small kid, but strong-looking in a wiry kind of way. Had this stiff way of walking. Later, I found out it was cause of his back. They used to beat him with plumbing pipes. Not a switch, not a belt pipe. Like he was a problem. Hannah and Samuel were adopted. Came here to what they got instead was worse than the Williamses, man, I don't know what kind of sickness they had behind those doors, but they used the Bible like a weapon. Punishment was constant, not just physical, psychological too. They'd starve the kids for days, lock them in a pitch-black closet. Not for an hour, I mean days. No food, no light, just darkness and silence and that creeping cold that sinks into your bones. I remember one winter night, it was pouring rain, wind howling like crazy. I was inside with my own heater busted, wrapped in 2 blankets, and still shivering. I looked out my window and saw a shape out in the Williams' backyard. It was Hannah. She was standing out there in the rain. No jacket, just a t-shirt, arms wrapped around herself, soaking wet, just standing, not moving, like they told her not to. Turns out that's exactly what they did. They forced her to stand outside for hours as punishment. In the cold, in the wind, in the rain. And that night, that very night, she collapsed. She was dead before the ambulance even made it halfway down the street. 13 years old, dead from hypothermia. And not just that. She was malnourished, bruised all over, bones sticking out, body basically shutting down even before the cold finished her off. I watched the EMTs carry her out on a stretcher. She looked like a crumpled rag doll. And her brother, Samuel, he wasn't even allowed to cry. That's what one of the cops told me. He'd been so conditioned by them, he didn't know how to react. He just sat there, staring at the wall, as blank as a stone. They found out he'd been tortured too. Locked in the same closet. Beaten, starved, duct-taped. He had scars down his back, old and new. That kid survived, but not without paying the kind of price no kid should ever have to. Larry and Carrie tried to act like it was discipline. Biblical correction, they called it. Can you believe that? Like starving a child to death was some holy duty. They said Hannah was rebellious, that she chose to sleep in the barn that night. But the jury saw through that trash. They were convicted manslaughter for Hannah, first-degree abuse for Samuel. Locked up, good. Should have been called what it really was, though, murder. Cold, deliberate, spiritual smokescreen murder. But here's what really haunts me. I saw her. I saw her out in that yard. I saw the weight she was carrying. Could have knocked on that door. Could have made a call. But I didn't. I told myself I didn't know what was really going on. That it wasn't my place. That's a lie I tell myself so I can sleep. Hannah was just a kid. She didn't get a chance to grow up, to heal, to laugh again. And Samuel? He's out there somewhere, probably still carrying those invisible chains. So, this story ain't easy for me to talk about. I've carried it for years, and every time I even think about it, I feel that tight knot in my gut like I'm gonna throw up. 'Cause once you hear what I saw, what I didn't do, you'll understand why some nights I can't sleep without the TV on. Back in 2013, I was living in this dusty apartment complex in Palmdale, California. Nothing special, tan walls, neighbors who mostly kept to themselves. I was working nights then, delivering freight for a grocery store chain, so I slept during the day. And every day, without fail, there'd be this thumping from the unit below me. Not regular thumping, violent thumping, like someone throwing furniture. Sometimes it was followed by screaming, not adult screaming, a child. It wasn't loud enough to wake the dead, but it was off. You know that feeling when your body knows something ain't right before your brain catches up? That's what I felt, over and over. One afternoon, I passed by their unit on my way to my car, and the door was cracked open just a sliver. Inside, I saw this little boy, skinny as a matchstick, standing in the corner, facing the wall. His arms were covered in bruises. Purple, green, yellow, all the colors of healing gone wrong. He didn't even turn around, just stood there like someone had unplugged his soul. A woman, his mother, I guess, Pearl was her name, walked past him like he wasn't even there. And then came this dude, Isoro. Big, stocky guy. Mean look in his eyes like he was always pissed at the world. He looked up, saw me looking, and just smiled. Not friendly, like a warning. That should have been my first move to do something. But I didn't. I didn't want to get involved. I told myself, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're just strict. I mean, what the hell did I know? But the sounds didn't stop. They got worse. I started noticing things. The boy, Gabriel, that was his name, he stopped going to school. My friend's girlfriend worked as a teacher's aide, and she mentioned this one boy who'd show up with black eyes and cigarette burns. She didn't say his name, but I knew. I just knew it was him. She said they filed reports. CPS was on it. Whatever that means. One day, I saw Gabriel in the trash area behind the complex. I was tossing out a broken chair, and he was there, digging through the dumpster. He was barefoot, shirtless, and trembling like a leaf in the wind. I asked him what he was doing, and he just looked at me with these eyes, man. I swear to God, they weren't child eyes. They were hollow, like he'd seen stuff no kid ever should. He said he was hungry. I asked him why he didn't eat at home. He just said, "They said I'm bad. Bad kids don't eat." That night, I sat in my car and cried. I hadn't cried since my granddad died, but this broke something in me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have kids. I didn't even have a pet. I figured CPS was already involved. I figured they'd handle it. I figured wrong. A few weeks later, I came home from a double shift and the whole block was crawling with cops, paramedics, news vans. At first thought the CPS guys as finally act on the issue. But, no, Gabriel was dead. They said he'd been beaten so bad, his skull was cracked, ribs broken, BB pellets lodged in his lungs. They made him sleep-bound and gagged in a tiny cabinet. They forced him to eat cat litter. So, spoiled food. He was 8 years old. You want to know the worst part? There were multiple reports. Teachers, social workers, the security guard, even family members. Everyone saw the signs. Everyone raised the flag. But somehow he slipped through. Or maybe they just didn't care enough. I had to testify. I sat in that courtroom while they showed autopsy photos. Photos I still see when I close my eyes too long. I looked at Pearl, that sorry excuse for a mother, and Isoro, the monster she let into their home. I watched them sit there like nothing mattered. He died thinking nobody loved him. What hurts me most was that no one came fast enough. That we saw and still do. They got life sentences. No parole. That doesn't fix it. It doesn't bring him back. I still think about her face. I didn't even know her name at first. Just a little girl who lived at the end of the row in this house in Surrey, UK. Yeah, I was overseas back in 2023. Long story short, I had a job working maintenance at this international school. Lived cheap, ate worse, got paid in pounds and silence. The house next door was always quiet. The yard was dead. Toys outside, but never kids. Curtains drawn day and night. Then one night, I'm sitting on my porch, chain smoking, staring at the sky like I always did when the homesickness got too loud, and I heard it. A scream. Not loud, not wild. It was soft, like someone tried to scream without letting it out fully. A child's voice, choked, like she'd done it before. I froze, just sat there, and then nothing. Total silence. That wrong kind of silence. The one that makes you think you didn't hear anything at first. Next morning, I saw her through the upstairs window. Just a flash of her face. She was maybe 10. Thin, hair pulled back too tight. Her skin looked pale, like she hadn't been in the sun for months. But it was her eyes that messed me up. They were big, hollow, like she was staring through the glass, through the street, through the whole damn world, like she'd already left. I didn't see her again for days, but I heard things. Heavy bangs, furniture scraping, once what sounded like a smack, flesh on flesh, then a low wail, then a man shouting. I couldn't make out the words, just the tone. Mean, not angry like you yell at someone in a fight, angry like you enjoy hurting. I tried to tell myself it was none of my business. I was a foreigner in a tight-knit neighborhood, and I didn't exactly have my own life together. But man, I knew something bad was happening in that house. Her name was Sarah, by the way. I found that out way too late. The dad's name was Irfan. He looked like the type who always had something simmering under his skin. He dressed sharp when he went out, buttoned up like he cared about appearances. But when I saw him at home, always tense, always barking orders. The stepmom, Bainash, her face was frozen, like she'd carved it into stone so she wouldn't feel anything. She never smiled, never talked, never made eye contact. One time I passed Sarah at the mailbox. She was wearing long sleeves in the middle of summer. She had a limp. She didn't say a word. She didn't even flinch when a car backfired nearby. Like loud noises didn't faze her anymore, like she'd already been through worse. And then, it happened. August 2023. Police cars all over the street. Flashing lights, neighbors crowding the sidewalk. I stepped outside and everything felt wrong. People weren't talking, just standing, staring, whispering like their mouths couldn't handle the truth. They found Sarah dead, 10 years old, and what they described, man, I swear I've never felt cold like I felt hearing that. 25 fractures, a broken spine, burn marks, bite marks, the kind of injuries you don't get from a fall, the kind of damage that takes time, that builds up over years. Years. She was tortured, plain and simple, over and over, hurt in ways that don't even make sense unless your soul's gone rotten. And the thing that still makes my throat close up? They said the injuries were healing and fresh. Some old, some new, which means it wasn't just one moment of rage. It was a pattern. It was a routine. Her own father and stepmother did it. The people who were supposed to protect her, Irfan and Bainash, monsters walking around in human skin. You know what they did after she died? They ran, straight out of the country, left her dead body in the house and hopped a flight, left that poor girl alone one last time. But they got caught, eventually, brought back in chains, tried to lie, blame each other, blame circumstances, whatever, but it didn't work. The damage spoke for itself. The court gave them life sentences, no parole. Good, not good enough, because that girl, Sarah, she screamed and nobody came. I used to live in Hickory, North Carolina, worked at a mill on the edge of town, ran night shifts mostly. One of those towns where everybody kind of knows everybody, or at least knows of everybody. And it didn't take long for folks to notice Zara. She was different in all the ways that made a kid stand out. She wore a prosthetic leg. Cancer had taken the real one a few years back. Wore hearing aids too. I saw her once outside the doctor. She laughed like nothing. But then I saw her stepmother, Elisa, grab Zara by the wrist and jerked her back to the car. Hard. Hard enough I winced, and I'm not the sensitive type. I stood there, thinking for a second maybe I should say something, but I didn't. Zara's dad, Adam, he was this quiet, sheepish guy. Came from Australia, I think. Spoke soft, didn't look you in the eye. I always wondered if he was scared of his own wife. The way he hovered behind her like a shadow. I used to think maybe he was a victim too. Turns out, not exactly. See, for months, people said they hadn't seen Zara at school. Elisa said she was homeschooled now. Said she was sick. Said she was staying with family. Always a new story. Always a new lie. And then one day the Amber Alert hit. Zara was missing. The town went into panic mode. Search teams, helicopters, news vans rolling in. And I remember joining the search too, but Later on, they found her prosthetic leg first, just the leg, tossed in a brush pile like trash on the side of the road. No one said anything out loud, but the air got heavy. People stopped talking about rescue and started talking about recovery. Then they found her torso, somewhere else, weeks apart, dismembered, pieces of a child scattered like she never mattered. Elisa confessed eventually. She said Zara died after falling and hitting her head. But that wasn't the truth. Not really. She'd been abusing that little girl for years. Starving her, locking her in rooms, hitting her. Zara, a child with one leg and hearing aids, fighting cancer, trying to smile through it all. And this woman broke her. And Adam, the dad, he claimed he didn't know. Said he was at work. Said he thought Zara was fine. But it came out later he helped cover it up. Helped scatter her remains. Helped lie to police. He knew. He might not have swung the hammer, but he held the bag. You know what really gets me? This wasn't some stranger snatching situation. This wasn't some freak accident. This was slow, day-by-day, cruel erosion of a child by the very people who were supposed to love her. And it happened while the rest of us were busy living our lives, too scared or too polite to step in. Zara survived cancer. She fought it like a warrior, beat it, lost her leg, her hearing, but not her spirit. Not until they took that too, piece by piece. I still pass by the woods sometimes, where they found part of her. I swear it feels colder there, like the earth itself remembers.